Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets, where we give you the strategies, the mindsets, and of course, the frameworks to building your own 6 and even 7-figure coaching business. I am, of course, your host, the Road Dog, with none other than the man himself, the king of the Dolphins, the man on top of the hill, but not even a hill anymore, on an island, Karl Bryan.
Shoots. Speaking of dolphins, I'll tell you, I went e-foiling yesterday, and it's a bit windy today, so I didn't go today. But anyways, I saw a shark, and let me tell you, I see lots of sharks. The problem is, I saw a shark they're normally right down the bottom. You know, you leave them alone, they leave you alone, etc. This one was not on the bottom. Oh man, I've had that a couple of times. That's nerve. I smoke a shark with my e-foil. I just don't see how it's a big metal dealio in the water. Whew. Anyways, nerve-wracking, buddy.
Well, Hansi and I have pretty much predicted your end anyways. Your fate is probably sealed. It'll be somewhere with the shark involved. Oh my God.
Don't say it. If that happens, and folks, if I'm not here 1 week, I'll be bitterly disappointed at all these jokes is going to go viral.
100%. 100%. You know what? We'll probably have to make a shark joke within a week, like pull an Anthony Jeselnik and be like, too soon?
Yeah, too soon. Too soon. There you go. Yeah.
No. Speaking of sharks, well, this is an interesting segue. Yeah, you're a bit of a shark when it comes to getting clients. So handled that like a pro right there, Shoots. There you go. You did a big lead gen event last week for your coaches. I saw a whole bunch of stuff on the interwebs and the Facebooks, and just wondering how that all went down. How did it all go?
Hey, wait, good. You just say the Facebook, Shoots?
100%, buddy. It is the Facebook. Is it not? Did they change the name? It's weird.
Yeah, I think they did. Remember, that's straight out of the movie Social Network. Take out that's Sean Parker 101. That happened, by the way. There you go. Facebook. It's cleaner. Anywho, yeah. So lead generation event. Yeah, look, went awesome. What did I do? I just had some of our high performing, clients and coaches show up, and we posed a question to them. Right? How would you generate 100 leads in 90 days from a standing start? And what would you do and why? Right? Like we didn't hire professional speakers to get you standing up and sitting down and clapping hands. Just, real coaches in the trenches showing what they do, and how they do it. Again, not professional speakers pretending. Not that I'm saying anybody's doing that, but maybe they are. Actually, here's a funny question I got, Shoots. So I get asked, like from there, I don't know, it was a long day, approaching 10 hours maybe. And I got asked, how can I stay on all day and answer, any and all questions, and not lose my level of energy and kind of enthusiasm. And by the way, I can't necessarily agree with that, because by the end of the day, I got to tell you, I was a bit knackered. But anyways, so my answer is just like the reason I'll do a presentation like that and sit there and answer questions for hours and, until everybody's done, is I just wish somebody would have done that for me when I got going. Right. So, and what I would say about that, it's $400, right? So it's $400 if you bought it, but it's worth $400 if you bought it, but it's worth $400,000 if you apply it, right? Step by step. Everybody just gave away their best secrets and go. Anyway, Shoots. So yeah, the event, I thought it was great. And maybe, so when I opened, rather than open it the usual way, I had a little bit of a, like open it up and here's what's coming and here's what they're going to explain. And I recommend you take notes, because even if you never revisit the notes, you're going to retain everything at a higher level. Yeti. but I figured they already know what to expect, right? So I said, look, so I got 40 minutes at the beginning. So my goal at the beginning of the presentation, or when I put it together, it was to have everybody there agree that they can go and get 10 clients in the next 90 days, right? Frankly, unlimited clients over 12 months if they followed, but I want them to be able to say that after what I showed them. And I can tell you that the answer, was resounding yes, and everybody agreed, because I asked that question. I said, go into the chat and tell me, and if anybody disagrees or anybody has a pushback or anybody doesn't think what I just showed them would work, let me know, and I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to go deeper, and we're not going to, the next speaker is not going to speak until we're done, kind of thing. And anyway, so it went good. So actually, shoots, before I throw it back, but I do want to say this, right? So I went last couple of weeks, we've touched on identity, right? And I probably got more feedback on what I talked about on identity than I did about the lead gen. So then you say, okay, well, what did you say and how did you say it? Give me the frame, right? And what is it? It's like neuroscience dictates you can't change who you are until you change who you think you are, right? So if you think you're no good at lead generation, no strategy I provide, no tactic anybody gives you, no workbook, no ABC, no 1, 2, 3, no paint by numbers training is going to solve your lead generation problem, right? Because it's in between your own two ears. So you need to change the stories you tell yourself, right? So I explained that in the last couple of podcasts. I've kind of gone deep there, so I'm not gonna rehash that. But just said differently, developing a positive mindset is too surface level and won't create change. Certainly not the lasting change that I would imagine you're looking for, right? Like your prefrontal cortex, it holds your quote unquote I am statements. And think of that when you think of I am. This isn't a black and white or a perfect parallel or a perfect example, but think of your I am statements as your identity, right? So I say, I am a Yankees fan, right? Which I'm not, by the way, but that's okay. I'm a Blue Jays fan, but I just, the Yankees and the Cowboys would resonate with more people than, the Toronto Blue Jays, right? So if being a Yankees fan resonates, guess what? That's part of your identity, right? I am intelligent, right? Like, is that something you say to yourself? Like, that's your identity. I'm not a tech person. Like, if that resonates, that's your identity, and you got to be careful with that, right? So that's ultimately what needs to change, right? Your brain is wired to constantly prove to yourself you are who you believe you are, right? I am a lead generation machine. I am a person who business owners are attracted to. I am the business coach that business owners are attracted to. I am a JV machine. I am awesome at putting together joint venture deals that work for both parties, that are win-wins. I am a public speaker. I am a great public speaker. If you say that and believe it to be true and real, guess what? You're going to magically find yourself at speaking events on stage, right? And maybe shoots, that's a bit woo-woo. You know what? I remember reading a book early on in my, let's call it my personal development journey. We're talking like a long time ago, like 30 years ago. But it's like, if you go to the shopping mall and you say to yourself, there's a parking, the parking spot at the front is open, right? That parking spot will magically be open. And I can tell you that's not true. There's no part of that to be reality. But anyway, so it's not, at the end of the day, it's studying versus training, listening to this, going to the YouTube video, reading the book. Repetition is doing it over and over and over and over again until it becomes instinctual. So I am a JV machine. You can't say it once and then be surprised when it doesn't happen, right? This is something, and you got to own it, and you got to believe it to be true, believe it to be real, make it part of that story. It's like true intelligence is getting what you want, right? And then part of the problem there is you got to make sure that you want the right things, right? So you don't want more leads. You want high-end clients, right? You want to have a great company. You want to have great clients, attract great leads to get great clients that are under your tutelage, under your coaching, right? That's the unlock. So I don't know, Shoots. I know that I guess asked all the time, like people, coaches generally, they love to speak on stages, right? And of course, impact a lot of people. Well, the problem is, what if you're speaking on stages with the wrong people And then you're kind of getting the leads, you're getting the audiences, but you're not getting the clients, right? As in, it's a low, it's an MLM crowd, as an example. Nothing wrong with MLM, right? It's great. Like, may or may not be great, but there's more rewiring that's going to be needed, more repetition, more training, as opposed to more studying. Like, I am a 7-figure coach is going to be very, very powerful, right? And if that's your identity, then the speaking gigs will organically come. Why? Because they have to, in order for you to stay in alignment with the person that you believe yourself to be, right? Anyway, they just come so that you can stay true to your identity that you build for yourself. But again, you can't do it once and then be surprised it doesn't work, right? And if you love the Yankees, guess what you do? You watch Yankee games, right? You probably go to 1 or 2 a year. When you watch the highlights, guess what you're watching for? The Yankee games. Are they, Aaron Judge, what's he up to? You cheer for him. You buy a jersey. You got 3 jerseys, and what do? You buy a new one, despite the fact that the last thing you need is a 4th, but you do. Why? It's your identity running your show. So Shoots, I don't know if I need to go, but just the bottom line, maybe the question is, what's your identity, right? A 7-figure coach who gets clients with ease, is that you? Or a coach that struggles to get clients? Which one resonates with you at a higher level? And then you're going to know if it's the latter, that's the real problem that you got to solve, not the next lead generation tactic or, strategy. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and fiction, right? Just the stories that you're telling it. Like, we get dozens and dozens of clients every month through our referral network, right? It's a standard. I've been doing this for, this company for 17 years, and it's just kind of where we've got to. Do we start there? Absolutely not. It's something that I've grown into, something that the company's grown into. I remember, if you want to have a great company, you need to have great clients. And Shoots, I got to shut this down, but like, people advertising would be a good example of a great client, right? Why? Because they're already spending money trying to grow. Problem, it's likely not working, and they're damn well lighting money on fire, which is bad for all of us. But the good news is they have the money to spend, so they likely operating, somewhat of a successful business with real revenues, real profit, real staff, etc. And the more they're spending on the ads, the more that they're likely making, right? That sounds like a potential great client to me. You want to have a great company, you want to have great clients. Somebody who's spending money on radio ads, probably an example of a company that would be a great coaching client and worth fighting for and worth getting in contact with and worth getting a referral to, etc. Show sheets, yeah, that's it. Just the bottom line it was a really good event. Had over 100 people attend live. Many couldn't make it, understandably, right? So they'll get the recordings, but pretty much nobody left by the time we shut her down, which was whatever time it was. I'm going to say 6:00. And we just taught, how to use advertising to get clients, how to get clients through JVs, how to niche and get clients, how to use high-end networking online and offline. Probably the highlight of it was our Facebook ad presentation. Tori, shout out to Tori. She is legend. We gave everybody a done-for-you Facebook ad campaign that they can literally launch just by registering, right? Again, done for you being the important 3 words. Using social media. And again, not theory shoots, right? Just some of our many successful clients showing exactly what they're doing in real time that works to get an overflow of high-end clients that don't just pay them, but they pay, stay, and refer. So Shits, appreciate you asking, man. That's my answer, and it was really good. Anybody listening should try to get access to it. That's for sure.
So speaking of events, the internet was on fire, as they say, but not for me. Shockingly, I did not see this, nor did I attend. So I wanted to ask you about it. The Hormozi Tony Robbins thing. Did you see thoughts? Like, was it worth all the hype? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I listened to it. You didn't listen to it, Shoots?
Did not. No, I completely zoned out on it.
Yeah, fair enough. It's crazy how popular it was. It was nuts. Look, I tell you, it was popular for what you're going to see, Shoots, when you watch it. If you watch it, it was popular for one reason and one reason only. Actually, probably a few reasons, but the one that stands out by 100 miles is Alex Hormozy got very vulnerable, very vulnerable. He took the veil off and showed everybody some colors that they hadn't otherwise seen. Right? It's like the same as Bachelor, right? You watch the show and the guy leaves, and they say, he do an interview at the end, and it's like, I'm a guarded person. I just don't open up easily. It's not easy for me to let people in, right? Or the gal who's sending him, he didn't open up, and the other remaining guys did, so I felt closer to them, right? It's like so consistent, it's nuts, right? So be vulnerable, right? Like with 2 minutes of hitting a stage, a professional speaker, let's call it Tony Robbins, right? Love him, hate him, irrelevant. The guy's a billionaire, and he did it on the back of coaching, right? So I think we could all learn from what he's doing and how he's done it. So a professional speaker will tear themselves down, like translation, get vulnerable, right? So when you meet a prospect, you don't need to be the smartest person that they've ever met, or pretend to have this perfect career arc, like you're Superman in a suit and tie, right? You just don't. And I think that some people, you know what I mean? Like Alex Hormozy, they might have a little bit of hesitancy to let that guard down, right? To show the bruises. So anywho, so that's my big takeaway. And reminder, Hormozy opened himself up to the world to see. And quite frankly, I'm going to call it admirable to put that stuff out there. I thought it was pretty cool. I'd also say this, like Tony Robbins has a style of what I'm going to call top down, right? High achievement, change the world by, adjusting your thoughts, adjusting your mindset, use your language, powerful language, peak performance, driving you towards taking what? Massive action, says it all the time. And in the interview, it was a moonshot, right? That's the way that he described, his plan and what Alex Hormozy needed, right? And I can tell you from my own, because of my story with my big brother committing suicide when I was 16 years old, and my dear mother drinking herself to death, all rooted in business failure. I've had countless people on my phone over the years who were in a tough spot, right? They don't say I'm suicidal generally, but they say, Carl, I'm in a really, really dark place right now, right? And of course, I know what's going on. And it's like, okay, here we go. I got to show up, right? And not show up, I got to show up. Let's put it that way, right? And remember this, if you can save a suicide, surely you can save a coaching client, right? You can save a suicide, you can save a sale. But it's going to need the focus. Like when I said, because all of a sudden I got to show up, it needs the focus of driving in a snowstorm, right? Think of a blizzard. You can only see 3 inches in front of the windscreen, the windshield, right? Think of that intensity. It's not the intensity of driving on the highway that you've driven home 150 times in a row, right? You can literally get home and not even remember driving home, right? Your subconscious mind takes over. You need to bring that level of intensity. So anywho, I just say, sometimes the bottom up approach, right? Rather than top down that Tony Robbins used, and I think, as his general frame, it's top down. Going bottom up, what do I mean by that? Going to trauma, going to the brutal experiences, the divorce, the kids that you only get to see on weekends every second week, the accident, the health issue. Sometimes that's the way to go, right? So some people need to hit pause for a period of time versus the gas pedal. And what they really are looking for and what they may need, and every situation is unique, but a little bit of permission to do so, permission to take a break, permission to hit the pause button, right? Not long term, as that's not gonna work, right? But when you get into a fight in hockey, there's a reason why they take you and put you in the penalty box for 5 minutes. Yes, they got to keep control of the game, but most importantly, it's we need these two guys to calm down, right? So there's not mayhem. So again, translation, hit pause. And I've said many times, I see Hormozy becoming like a Buddhist monk one day. right? He does nothing in halves. No doubt that's obvious for anybody who would watch him. Maybe pause or, more than the gas pedal for a short time to get to where he wants to be might be a little bit of guidance that may or may not be helpful. I don't know. But it certainly, if you agreed with that or you saw that, that would be different than the way that Tony Robbins was guiding him. And by the way, I'm not here to tell Tony Robbins how to do it or not do it. Apparently he's doing all right. But I'd just say I thought the interview was great. Nice to see a heavyweight with all kinds of, money and fame, etc., be vulnerable in front of everybody. But Tony Robbins definitely went an inch deep with him rather than a mile deep. But I would say that that's due to time constraints above all else. Because again, it was, I think, either, 60 minutes or 90 minutes. Like, it was a reasonably short. It's not like the Rogan thing where they just had as much time as they needed. I think Tony Robbins is on the tour. So that was, time restraints. But if you haven't watched it, worth the use of an hour. And for the hard drivers in the room, the people that are go and have trouble, hitting the pause button, taking the foot off the gas, I think there's lots of learnings for you. But anyways, that was my takeaway. It was good and might be worth a watch, but
nice. I'm not sure if you're up for this, but we're going to play everybody's favorite game. And I do.
What?
Word association shapes. Here's the rules of the game, though. Okay. I need you know what? Is there a buzzer option on this? Like, I need a buzzer. If you start going down a rabbit hole, like, as that, I just buzz you out and then move on to the next question, but or the next word. So if you're willing to abide by the rules, sir, the fans are anxiously waiting for another game of word association.
Well, let's do it.
You ready?
Go shoots. We'll see how I go.
I'm going to hit you with a real easy one to start. Retirement.
Retired. That's it? Okay. You want me to speak on
retirement? It's a nice, easy little topic of conversation for you without a rabbit hole.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I don't know. Stats say that people retire, then they die. So that might not be the best answer. I don't think retirement's the answer, right? For most. Again, don't want to die, right? But just doing nothing, like my old man, he's 83 years old. God bless him. I speak to him almost every single day, or communication every day. And he keeps, he's got to keep himself busy. He's got to keep himself busy. He's mentoring people. He plays online poker. He plays online poker every day. May or may not have put my daughter when she was 8 years old on his knee and had her pressing the buttons while he's gambling, doing online gambling. I walked up. I'm like, oh my God, Skinny. I call him Skinny. Anyway, so I don't know. Retirement. Look, you're a business coach. Okay. You get 5 clients at $3,000 a month. Okay. What's that? Help me with the math. It's 180 grand a year, 80+% margins. And you're working part-time, you're working with these guys every second week, et cetera. I'm going to assume that, again, you get to that point, you've been doing it for a while and you're good at it. You got your network and you got your, your frameworks and you're good. So you're going to be able to get 5 clients at $3,000 a month. And if you don't think so, this is your identity speaking, right? You're going to have to sort that out or we're not going to be able to do much else. Believe me, there are people out there doing that and, plus. So I think that's, you become a successful business coach and you're semi-retired for the rest of your life. That's what I'm trying to say. So you want to work for meaning, experiences, knowledge, and maybe love, with fear of getting a little woo-woo here today. But you want to do that, I think, rather than money, cars, and the larger house, right? I've said it many times that highest respect is paid not to those who make it, but it's paid to those who make it and keep it. So be careful. I think somebody's thinking about going to retirement. And you could imagine that I've had these conversations many a times over the years. And it's like, don't work towards an easy life, which is what I think people see as retirement. You want to work towards being somebody who's not bothered by anything, right? That sounds like a cool retirement to me. And by the way, guess what? It can start today, right? It can start today. Yes. And for you. And of course, if I say that and you're not feeling it, that's like the Yankees example, right? Like, that we got to do that work. Like, you can absolutely have that. You can be the person who's, you know what I mean, just not bothered by anything, including getting ghosted and having the client cancel and having the, you know what I mean, that blah, 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 right? Like, it's okay. And remember, like the retirement shoots, you don't have to go quick. Like, there is a clock ticking that you can't see, right? I think you know what I mean by that. Make sure the goal is not to make tons of money and do this and do that. It's to have an amazing life, define an amazing life. And I think you're going to be on the right track. And just the frame for retirement shoots, actually, I got to make sure I say this. You and your clients don't want to retire with net worth. You want to retire with income. Okay. Because again, with all, you know, AI and all these, you know, people working on longevity, what if you live to be 120, right? You're not going to want to be 98 working at McDonald's. I'm positive of that, right? So you want to retire with income, not just net worth. And the best definition of wealthy is monthly passive income above monthly burn. That's the best definition of wealth that I think you could come up with. Anyway, Sheets, retirement. That's it. That's all I got. How'd I do?
Next one. This will be an interesting one. High-end clients.
Boom. Okay. High-end clients, you say. Okay. Well, first thing that comes to mind is gross profit margin. A roofer that makes 10 grand on a job needs to get 3 or 4 clients in an entire 12-month period with you on a $20,000 to $30,000 block of coaching fees, right? In order to be in the black, right? So a massage therapist doing $100 massages needs to get 20 massages a month done to cover your $2,000 a month, right? So I don't need to meet the two of you to know that that's a relationship that's probably not going to last that long. And the problem to solve there is the $100 per hour problem. Okay. To be clear, right? Because only so many hours in the day. But anyway, so unit of sale and profit on that unit of sale matters when you're choosing these high-end clients. I'd say this shoots like high-end clients buy on identity. Kind of doing a bit of identity here, but I just feel like they buy on identity. Like lower end coaching clients buy on what I'd call utility and aspirationally. You know, if they're doing multiple 7 figures, I think talking identity and kind of systems thinking, higher level is where we're going, as opposed to a little bit less. Like if you promote lead generation, you're going to get more clicks, but a lower on average quality buyer. It's a good chance that multiple 7-figure business is not clicking on your ad, right? You talk strategic. So I was talking to a business coach that separate yourself as a business coach, like pick a niche as an example. You'll get a higher end buyer than you will with the lead generation. But if you talk identity, like become the best business coach you can be, you'll get less clicks than the other two, but you get a higher caliber of prospect. And remember, intelligence is getting what you want, but then wanting the right things. So do you want 1,000 clicks, or do you want 5 clients at $3,000 a month that can afford and legitimately pay you for 3 years, right? And also, it's about, if you're selling to business owners stuck in operations, like I probably want to be thinking growth or speaking growth. Like if you're talking to investors, you want to talk in returns, right? You're talking to the average small business owner, you talk in benefits, right? So kind of just framing we've talked about that many, many a times on different podcasts, right? But you're framing the way that you're speaking. I would speak differently to a woman than I would to a man, right? Like a woman wants to be adored and a man wants to be admired, wants to be respected, right? My language would adjust as such. So there you go.
Okay, next word. This will be a hot take. Improvement.
Improvement. Oh, done, shoots. Improvement. 1% a day for 365 days is a 37x return. You could be the worst lead generator in the world, and if I 37x your current talents, you'll be looking pretty good in 12 months, right? But you got to do the work. Remember, studying and training. Studying is listening to the course, the video, reading the book, but training is doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes instinctual. Very few. It's not 10,000 hours. It's 10,000 reps. with iterations, right? You don't just do the reps. You lifting a 5-pound weight. You're not going to get too much muscle. You need to continue to go up, right? Improvement. Your success should be measured in what? I think distance traveled and not time on the tools, right? You follow what I mean by that? Like it's about how far did you go, not how much time did you spend, right? Like that's it probably similar to the bike trail that I've talked about a lot of times, but the bike trail was super hard when you first do it, right? So you're cruising up a mountain face, a big hill on your bike. It's hard, like maybe too hard to even get to the top, but you do it every day for 30 days. And what happens on day 30, it becomes easy, right? It'll zoom up. You might even do it twice by the end. Well, the bike trail does not change. You do, right? So every day you just get a little bit better and a little bit better, a little bit better. What sales? You suck at sales. You suck at lead generation, which by the way, hopefully you don't embody that. Hopefully that's not part of your identity, but you get the idea. You just identify as somebody who's not good at sales. That's okay. But what do you got to do? We got to 37x your talents over 12 months. And at the end of 12 months, I don't care how bad you are at it, you're going to be good at it. At the end of 12 months, it's going to become easy. I don't know. That's it. And the more seriously you take yourself and your situation, I'm just going to say you're bad at sales. You're bad at lead generation. You hate it. You try to stay away from it. You hide from it. So the more seriously you take it all, nobody's getting out alive. Just the less happy you're going to be. I think the less progress that you'll ultimately experience, because that's negative what you say to yourself about yourself when you're by yourself is absolutely critical. Part of your identity. That's part of the stories that you're telling yourself and probably your I am statements. You got to change that in order for your coaching career to go to the 6-figure, multiple 6-figure, and ultimately the 7-figure and maybe multiple 7-figure level. And I just say, and sometimes maybe just Hormozy, Tony Robbins conversation comes to mind. Like sometimes taking your foot off the gas is the right answer for a season, right? That is not the answer long-term for anybody, in my opinion, right? But it's like, don't quit, pause. I used to have a Post-it note on my computer that said exactly that. It was just, I don't think it was from Tim Ferriss, but it was just like, it effectively said, don't quit, pause. Sometimes it's just time to pause. Like, think about this, Shoots. Like samurais are trained to die with honor, right? And then we're scared to reach out to the accountant who we went to high school with or college with, because they might not be interested. They might ghost us. It might, whatever. You know what I mean? Like think about that. A samurai is trained to die with honor, right? Be grateful. Everything is context, and be assertive, right? Like you introduced me to a 7-figure, multiple 7-figure, 8-figure operator. I'm telling you, I don't need to speak to them to know that they are assertive. Okay. So if you're assertive, what do you deserve? Who are you? These are these questions that make up your identity, which, so if it's a ladder, and I've talked about it before, but like there's like, what are your beliefs? What your mindset is changing your thoughts is not going to get it done because it's the top of the ladder. We've got to go so much deeper. Your beliefs, your values, your identity. And then very importantly, the bottom rung is the stories that you tell yourself repeatedly. Right? And it's ingrained in your subconscious. What do you deserve? Who are you? Like an 8-figure business owner is just an average person with laser-like focus. So think like contentment is when you have better problems. Okay. So that's a staff problem versus a money problem. And then success is when you have, let's say, better failures. That's your Facebook ad blew up, but you spent some money, you did the reps, you did the iterations, and all of a sudden you managed to find a breakthrough towards the end that is now working, right? And then I would just say, the very average, maybe even the losers never start, but a winner never stops, right? Don't stop. Just watch it. The Australian Open tennis is going on right now. You see these guys, the Novak Djokovic's of the world. he just doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like, by the way, I think he's out, but it doesn't, just generally speaking, if you've watched the arc of his career, and Nadal was loved and Federer was loved. Djokovic got none of that love from what I can see. I think he's great, but he doesn't get the love. But you know what he doesn't do? He does not care, and he does not stop, from my observation. And you need to function, okay, so you want to improve, right? You got to function from your goal, not towards your goal. Right. But then I would lead automatically to the question of what's your goal, right? Like if you don't know where you're going, any road's going to get you there. Probably not a good thing. Right. Anyway, and to make all this go in the right direction, your stories that you tell yourself, right? You have got to build those up, and if you're not conscious of it, you won't be able to change it. Right. And then you're conscious of it. You might be a little bit pissed off at yourself, say, oh my gosh, how could I been doing this to myself for so long? Like, don't go there either. Right. Just improve little by little. And maybe what you got to do is in fact, I just had a call with one of our clients, Anil, legend of a guy. And one of the things I said, I think you need some more proof, right? Came out of the gates blazing, got clients straight away. Now all of a sudden he's fallen into a funk. And I'm like, I think you got to build up your proof, right? Versus your sales aptitude, right? Like you got to really get runs on the board. Not that he's not getting runs on the board, to be clear, because he is with the people that he's working with. But I think that he needs, for him, where we win is kind of identity conversation and some of those stories and what he deserves and who he is. And I just think that, a little bit more proof. And he agreed that kind of just made sense. Speaking to you, is what you need, a little bit of proof. If you're a tennis player and you want to make the pros, the way that you get there is you've got an unbelievable amount of wins behind you, okay, and tournaments won and trophies on the mantelpiece. It makes you, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell yourself bad stories when you walk into the trophy room and it's full, right? So what could you do? Like, maybe what you got to do is you got to coach some people for free to get those runs on the board and build up that proof, right? Brady threw the football for free before he started getting paid. Anyway, Shoots, that was a rabbit hole in this. Okay, that's all I got. How'd I do?
Well, you failed the rabbit hole test, so that's going to be an issue. And folks, yeah. So anyways, folks, we will continue because there's some good ones. Like I have one locked and loaded for you, Big Shoots, but we sadly are out of time. And I promise, I know I can hear the fans screaming already. Where's my moment of Zen? It's coming. Just not in this episode, folks. I apologize. Send all your hate mail to carl@focus.com and he will for sure reply 100% of the time. All right, let's just wrap it with this. The one thing. I know what my one thing is from the episode, and it's the one that we've been pounding hard, and that is identity. My goodness, that one has been resonating more and more with me. But what's the one thing they Shoots from your perspective?
Shoots, you know what? Are you a Yankees fan, right? You resonate or you don't. Okay, so you don't exactly. It's not part of your identity, right? So again, but the same thing. When I say, are you a 7-figure coach? Are you a public speaker? Do you speak on stages? Are you comfortable in a sales environment? Are you a killer salesperson? Are you a killer coach? It's like if you say no as quickly as Road Dogg just said it to the Yankees, and we share. I know we both have the same baseball team. We're both Blue Jays all the way. But you know what I mean? Like it's your identity. So you got to go there and 1% a day, every day for 365 days, just improving it. Like, what do you deserve? Like, should the accountant really refer you? Like, honestly. And there's a chance that you're like, absolutely. And then there's a chance that you're like, you know what? Okay, well, if that's you, guess what I think you maybe need to do? You need to go to more proof than you do sales aptitude, like I said a minute ago, right? Like you got to go there. If you want lasting change, you've got to make you know what I mean? You're going to have to go to those I am statements and adjust them. Absolutely mission critical. So yeah, identity. And again, just the bottom rung, the most important, the bottom rung, the second bottom rung is identity. And then the bottom rung is the stories that you tell yourself. What is real? What is true? What do you deserve? Who am I? right? And then you answer those questions honestly, right? And again, because you're a high performer, there's a chance that you might not want to answer these as truthfully. And by the way, I may or may not be talking to myself here. You may not answer those questions as truthfully as you need to for yourself, right? Because they're like, wait, whoa. I need to, I got to go deep here with myself. You got to, sometimes the coach needs to be coached, and that's you coaching by yourself. And by the way, a really good way of doing this is to meditate. And in a perfect world, you meditate for an hour a day. Now ask me how I'm doing this week on meditating for an hour a day. And the answer is not very well. But at the same time, guess what? Am I beating myself up? Am I not doing it? Am I, throwing in the towel? Absolutely not. But you know what I'm doing? I'm getting a little bit better. I got to find the right, time to build it in. I got to calendarize it. I got to do some stuff. The chef needs to eat his own cooking. But anyway, but I will tell you that just meditating, the secret, in my opinion, is that don't think of it as meditating and the breathing techniques and all that sort of stuff, although that's fabulous. You just sit there and do nothing for 60 minutes and just let those thoughts come, and then don't go, oh, I'm failing at meditating. You just let it ride. And then the real magic tends to happen in the last 20 minutes of the hour. That's where the real magic comes in. That, again, and you throw it out to the universe that, you need to dial in on deserving more. You need to dial in on, who am I, and really, really believing that you are the 7-figure coach and you're the one that they should choose, and you're the JV machine, and you're the person that can get the account. It's so difficult to sell. Like, accountants are difficult to sell to. No doubt you'd agree with that. Like, there's a saying, the easiest person to sell is a salesperson. Okay. You may or may not believe that to be true, but I can tell you that's not what I believe to be true. That is what I've experienced times a million over a very long career, right? So if that's true, and I believe it is, that means that accountants are the hardest to sell. Like I said, the exact opposite of a salesperson. Guess what? I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of accountants that work with our company, right? Like, I literally wrote a book on accounting, and I am not an accountant, by the way. I teach people how to read financial statements, but I am not an accountant, no pretend to be. But I'm only blah, 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 blah. What I'm saying and why I'm saying that is that put me in front of an accountant, and as difficult as they are to close, as difficult as they are to convince, you're listening to the guy that will get the accountant over the line. And why? Because I just believe that that's just who I am. I'm the guy that gets the deals done. And I hope that doesn't sound overly and you know what I mean? Like, believe me. And by the way, I'll talk to 10 accountants in a row, and I'll have 10 of them say no in a row. I promise you, and very comfortably can say, I'll speak to the 11th, and I will have not 1% less confidence that I'm going to get that one over the line. And by the way, you put me on the phone with 10 accountants, 10 of them ain't going to say no. I will get very comfortably 5 of them paid, signed, sealed, delivered. But I don't know. I hope that helps. But that just comes back to, but as I say that, are you the person that gets the accountant who's a very difficult person to close over the line? And maybe the answer to that truthfully is no. And that's totally fine. My question is, could we get you there? And the answer is absolutely. We're going to need a little bit of proof. We're going to need some runs on the board. You're going to have to, again, when you go to that sales call, I don't do my best. I do what it takes. That's what I'm doing on that call. I'm doing what it takes. So I hope that helps, Shoots. Yeah, but I don't know. Did that identity, I'm going to high five you on that one. Totally agree. And I hope everybody will take that away.
All right, everybody, on that note, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. If you're not on the inside and getting access to Karl's daily emails, or you just want more information how to build, grow, and scale your coaching company, do yourself a favor and go visit focus.com and subscribe today. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe, and also share with a fellow coach, as again, we're trying to make our impact on as many coaches as possible. And while you're at it, leave us a review. That is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.